Okay, so what can I cook for dinner tonight? Give me like a quick recipe.
Quinoa.
Oh, I don't have
Yeah, you have to
that.
tell me what you have.
So I have rice, salad, tomatoes, and yeah, like onion and yeah, that's it.
You could make a cold rice salad and
Oh,
cook the
that's good.
rice and chill it,
Oh, that's good. That's
especially because
good.
it's so hot.
It is, believe me, it is. So let's start.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Crazy Beautiful Show, the podcast where we paint the world with memories. So today I have a special guest here with us. Um, I wanted to give her a name, like a name. So I would call her the kindness in discovering the joy of cooking. So she's a culinary educator, but also mindfulness instructor. She's the founder and the CEO of Gather Culinary. And let's give a round of applause to Melanie Underwood. Hello,
I'm
Melanie.
excited.
How are you? You good? Great. So today I think that this episode will be all about food.
Yes,
Can
I
you say
agree.
that?
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't love to eat?
I'm Brazilian, and in our culture, is all about eating.
Yes.
Like we don't even like when we have a conversation, we need a snack. You know what I mean?
I love that. And I think it ties into Brazilians being so warm.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyone that I
yeah,
know that has a very beautiful, warm personality is very connected to food.
yeah, yeah, completely. Because we grow up with that thing, when we are kids, we're going to visit family. We just sit at the kitchen, and they just started to take you things to eat, to drink. It's all about, you don't is to create the search as the gathering together,
Yeah.
through food, and that is just insane, and I love it. I eat quite a lot, so it really depends of Melanie. From where started all the gathering culinary idea? Because I read your story, but I would love you to share more with the listeners.
Yeah. Thank you. So I grew up on a farm in Virginia and
Yeah.
I moved to New York when I was 21. I've always just been a very fortunate person and I had a job offer to open the Four Seasons Hotel as the assistant pastry
Wow.
chef. Right. My mom always said, like, you get these jobs that you're never really ready for, but somehow people are hiring you.
Love that.
And then I continued working in the food industry. And then I had an emergency appendectomy.
Hmm.
And I asked a friend, hey, can I work in the office of this cooking school here in Manhattan? And I went there and they were like, yeah, of course. I said, I only need to work here 2 months because I'm going to go back to work as a pastry chef. And then the
Oh,
owner at the time said, hey, you have a background. Why? Have you ever thought about teaching? And I
yeah.
was young. I was 26. And I said, no, it sounds terrible. I'm super aggressive. I can't imagine that's a good teacher. And he said, well, why don't you just sit on some classes and see what you think? And I loved it because teaching uses both your right and left side of your brain. And
Yeah.
it really opens you up. And to be a good teacher, you have to be a good learner.
Yeah.
And I really it resonated so much with me. And very early on, I saw what an amazing impact that I had on people. And I realized, I don't know if in Brazil they do this, but when you're in America and you're young, they give you these tests and they're like, you should be when you get older.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
mine was
Yeah.
always politician or teacher,
Wow. Politician. Really?
which is what I always thought I was going to be a lawyer. And
Wow.
so, because I wanted to go into politics. And I was like, I would never be a teacher. And obviously, 28 years later, here I am. But anyway, fast forward, I taught at this school for a very long time. But after the pandemic, I decided to not go back. and opened my own space here in New York, in Westchester County. And names are so important to me. And I
Mhm.
thought, what is something that really resonates with me? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And how did I get here? And
Yeah,
all I kept coming back to was we gathered together at
yeah,
tables. We gathered in the stalls, milking cows. We were always gathering in the garden. And I think that's really what I want other people to feel, is that
yeah.
same feeling that I had as a child and as an adult about gathering and connecting and creating community.
And that's just amazing. I love that. But in the meanwhile, you did also the mindfulness studies
Yes.
to put that
Yes.
together.
Actually, so when I worked in hotels and restaurants, I always had a lot of anxiety. I had
Yeah.
panic attacks. I worked at the Plaza Hotel. And at one point, I was just like, I can't go to work. I couldn't get out of bed. I think people are surprised when they hear me say that. I don't talk so much about it, but I was having debilitating panic attacks. Like,
Oh wow.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was pretty severe, and nothing that anyone could figure out was triggering it. I would wake up in the middle of the night having a panic attack.
Just having that. Wow.
Yeah, so I participated in a study at Columbia Presbyterian, and my mother sent me some books, and I really started trying to dig in deep on what's going to help me overcome this, or not even overcome it, accept it, but work with it where I literally don't feel like I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And what I came to was meditation and mindfulness. And I realized, okay, when I'm cooking, I'm so in that moment, I'm cutting, I'm doing all the things, I'm using all my senses, that usually when I start cooking, my anxiety starts to go away. And it was so powerful. And then when I started, I really tried to bring it to people that I worked with, because,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know about today, but I know in the 90s, I was one of the few people who didn't use drugs in kitchens and who didn't drink a
Yeah.
lot. And that's such a pervasive part of that culture, at least then. And I really tried to bring that to the kitchen, where we use mindfulness more than alcohol and drugs to help us.
Yeah.
But it really didn't resonate with people.
Yeah. 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 Because I had a friend. She's a chef in London, and she was telling me that I was quite surprised when she came and say, we use like much more like in big spaces as could be like a plaza, a Ritz. She used to work at Ritz, and she was like, we take drugs constantly. And I was like, wow, like how can you deal with the after? It's not even the during, because the during you are there, but then the after that, it completely ruins your personal life, your relationships, and more, because you are too concentrated in just doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely saw that. And I saw a lot of people who would use Coke to get them through the shift.
Wow.
And then they would take something as a downer, because
Wow.
not only were they using cocaine, which, is a stimulant, but that when you're working, I didn't need it. When I'm a very, you can see, I'm
You are
like you.
basically natural high.
Yeah, I have a natural high, but I can't even imagine, because when you work in a kitchen, that environment is so intense. And I
Yeah,
always thought, well, the reason I never did it was because it's not for me, but I always thought I'm going to have a heart attack as much
yeah,
energy as I have. But then they would take downers to bring them down. And it was just,
yeah.
and also two of my sisters, and I'm not speaking about anything they wouldn't share, are recovering alcoholics.
Mm,
So I was like, I don't ever want to have to find myself in that situation.
yeah,
So it was part of why I didn't want to sort of go down that path and
yeah,
turn to mindfulness as a coping mechanism.
yeah, definitely. And now you include the mindfulness in what you do, isn't it? Because I see, I try to join as many lives on Insight Time with you, you know. But I think I always get messed up with the time. I don't know why. It's like time zones is still like a really dark place for me. But I love the way, like when you prepare something, you first of all, the like just seeing you cutting and placing and more, it already give you a lot of calmness, because you are looking at the process. But also the way that you teach and you talk is like it's amazing. It's
Thank you, Jude.
incredible. I joined you, well, it was panzanella, isn't it? Panzanella. That was
Yes.
like, and I prepared that perfect. And I joined you the other day, but it was already at the end. You did these pastries with the marmalade inside. I don't remember. It was a
I don't
cake.
remember. Oh
It
God.
looks like a tacos. It was not tacos, empanadas,
Oh,
but
the ham
with,
pies.
yeah, the
Was it
ham
ham
pies,
pies?
yeah. Yeah, it was there. And I was looking to it, and people are really engaging because it's something completely new. You know, you just see this in television, you don't see in that kind of app. But everything that you do is so mindful, is so the way that you explain. It took you time to arrive to that sort of, let's call, awakeness or enlightenment when you explain things.
Yeah, I think so. And also, well, I have a very different way of teaching and then not teaching,
Yeah, yeah,
right? You know,
imagine
and
that. Yeah.
my husband jokes because historically, when he would meet any students, they would say, "Oh my gosh, your wife is so patient." And my husband's like, "Who in the world are they
Oh.
talking about? They don't know who you are. You have deceived everyone." But when people are learning, nobody learns when anyone's frenetic, and
Yeah,
nobody
true.
feels calm when someone is yelling. And
Yeah,
so
true.
I learned that in kitchens, that, and the best teaching tools for me are to just, I pretend like no one knows anything. And if you know something, great, and bring it to the table, but I'm just going to give you the information. And so I try to deliver it in a way that people can receive it. And I don't know if you were on the live, and I did not mind this at all. A woman, an Insight Timer, sort of pushed back a little bit because I was using dairy.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah,
And,
I was
you know,
not that, but yeah, yeah, I
she had very
understand.
strong opinions about, she said, I don't want to rape cows to get milk. And I said, everyone here has their own opinion.
Yeah,
And I'm not going to change your mind and you're not going to change my mind. I did grow up on a farm and I
yeah,
understand there are plenty of people who think I'm wrong, but I really try to be accepting of people and their beliefs. We only have one life that we know of here. And I really
yeah.
try to do it the best way possible and the nicest way possible.
Yeah, but that's why you use a lot of kindness in everything that you do. And that is just magical because we are living in a period where kindness is so difficult to have, to be as well, because it's sometimes it's impossible. And I think that not everyone understand that, the importance of kindness. The other that I think I shared many times, but I was in a live of a teacher, and this teacher said something that was like, this is a little bit wrong. If you need to choose between respect and kindness, you have to choose kindness. And I was like, yeah, but if you don't know what is respect and you don't know how to respect yourself, how can you be kind?
Yes,
Isn't it?
that is
So,
so true. I have goosebumps right now. But that's probably why it's hard for people to be kind, because
yeah,
I think a lot of people don't respect themselves
yeah,
subconsciously. And I think way too much. And I was thinking the other day about, because one thing that people always say to me is, how did you get so much confidence? And
yeah.
I think it came from my
From
parents.
where, Melanie?
Yeah, from my parents. My parents weren't the parents who were like, you do no wrong, but my
No.
parents loved me, but they made me accountable. My mom also was extremely kind. She was also a Scorpio. So
Oh,
I'm a Scorpio. She was very kind, but she held people accountable. And I think that is a place where people, and setting boundaries, those, that like trifecta is very hard to accomplish. And I know when I'm talking about it, I sound slightly arrogant, but I definitely believe that I sort of captured that, because do lead with kindness, but I do hold people accountable. And I also set boundaries, because those are very important things. And I teach a lot of kids now, and kids really resonate with me because I do hold them accountable. And they know I
yeah,
do it from a place of love, not a place of being unkind.
yeah, yeah. How is to teach to kids? Because I never, like, not that I don't like kids, don't take me wrong. I like them. I love kids. And I think I'm really patient with kids as well. I have friends that they can give me their kids and I stay for hours, just in, I have a huge imagination, so I can do the huge games with them. but how is to teach to kids like this new generation?
Oh, it's sometimes that is true. It can be a little challenging because right now, a couple of things. I went to an event recently. I spoke on a panel, and I said in the panel, everyone here thinks their kid is a genius. And I
Yeah,
saw a woman roll her eyes. And I said, you can roll your eyes all you want, but you think your kid is a genius, and they're not, because they actually don't know how to add a half plus a quarter. If any parents are listening, I would really encourage people to kind of break it down with your kids, because we're not giving kids the right tools on any level.
yeah.
It's a different generation. I feel like it makes me sound so old, but I can promise you
Don't.
that kids can't read recipes.
Yeah,
A recipe has ingredients and then it has a
yeah,
procedure.
yeah.
And they are not reading either one. And when I kind of force them, they read one or the other and they don't realize they work in conjunction. And
Mm.
because I do intuitive cooking and intuitive baking, I said to the kids this week, I know how to cook. I don't need to read a recipe. You're
Yeah,
learning. And yes, I'm telling you, but to get it to sink into your brain, you also need to read. And we're creating generations of young people that don't read because they watch videos all the time
yeah,
and they
yeah,
want a video. They want the entertainment factor and they want it to be short and quick. So part of my whole goal to get people they're not allowed to use their phones in class unless, if they had whatever anxiety they could, of course, but they're not allowed to be distracted because I want them focusing on each other, learning about cooking, learning about each other. And they play games. We go to the garden they're loving it. And I think that's so missing from where we are today.
Melanie, like what you're talking, I'm literally thinking because I am a millennial, so I was born in 1985, so I'm still of that generation where until a certain point we didn't have social media and videos and all that, and then suddenly we just been catapulted in that. And I think that see, I am so curious and I'm happy to be like that, because I'm so curious. In fact, if you ask me, I have friends that they're like, oh, just watch on YouTube the video. But I am so eager to do now that I don't even look. I just go with the flow. I don't even go. I just like, oh, so the screw is here, or just paste the tomato in here. It's just like that. I've been to Athens a couple of days ago, last week, and because here in Italy, everything go really fast. And there is all these, social media is a big thing. Like TikTok is a huge thing in here. And you can see that people are completely blindfolded about what they can do and how that will affect them. But when I was in Athens, everything was so 90s in everything. And I was like, and I looked to my boyfriend, I was like, Andrea, I kind of miss, like, there was old cars, but old cars from early 90s around, and kids were in the playground. There was that sort of gathering outside and having a drink. Definitely there were people just using the phone and all that, but it just put me back of that time where we were so free, isn't it? And we didn't have to be constantly in there. And it's beautiful what you do because it's from there that you can create that curiosity.
Exactly. I have pillars, and one of them is developing curiosity, because that's,
Yeah.
I think, what's happening is we're not being curious anymore. And curiosity, as you know, is related to being able to have conversations with people you don't agree with. And
Yeah.
I think that is going away in our society. We are become intolerant of people that don't think like us. And
Yeah.
I think that's not a good thing. I think it's
Yeah.
good to have diversity in friendships. It is, again, and the reason I use food is because food is a common denominator and we all eat. And so food is such an accessible way to bring it to people without it being judgmental
Yeah.
or, I don't know, sounding harsh, because we do eat every day. So food is a
Yeah.
great way to use these connections because to me, everything I teach is actually a much deeper lesson about life. than
Yeah.
just about food. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I feel like, and it built, my pillars are curiosity, confidence, creativity, connection, and
Just love that.
it builds community. And as both of us are insight timer teachers, that something that people are longing for is community.
Yeah.
Longing.
Even if it's so difficult to explain community, isn't it? Because in community there is so much competition nowadays that you are just like, what is going on? We are how you say, my God, my English is gone. we are supposed to support each other in our community, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's so difficult. And you can see from the new generation anyway that it's so difficult for them. Do you think there was like a moment in our life, like in all this generation, that we just stopped to support ourselves?
I mean, I don't know. I think along the way, people became a little more self-absorbed.
Yeah,
And I think this is going to sound not the way I mean it to, because I'm not religious at all,
it's
at
okay.
all.
No worries.
But I think there's been a little bit of a breakdown in our society, and the church was providing it before, because people
Yeah,
went to church and had a community, or they went to synagogue, or wherever they went, they were building community there. And people
yeah,
don't do that anymore, which I don't do that. But that's where a lot of communities were formed. So I'm not suggesting anybody goes to church. That's everybody's own thing, but I wish there was a way to build community,
yeah.
because like you said, the competition is kind of ridiculous. People will say
Yeah.
to me all the time, "Oh, let's do a competition with the kids." And I'm like, no,
It's like,
kids get
no.
competition drilled into them. There's sports, there's TikTok, YouTube, there cooking shows, whatever show you're looking at, there's competition. And I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
trying to build the opposite. I'm trying to
yeah.
build acceptance and not crushing someone. And I don't know if you've ever heard me say this on Insight Timer. I'm actually an incredibly competitive person. And I think because of that, I really understand the importance of being kind, even when you're competitive.
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, if I was competing with you, I was like, I'm crushing you.
Sad.
Like,
But I
sorry.
can see that. I can see that.
And I did.
Yeah, I can see that, because someone that says, I wanted to be a politician is like, yeah, like you have a lot of competitiveness inside of you, and that is incredible. How was to work for such restaurants like the Four Seasons and Mo? How was it?
And it was fun. But, in New York, it was interesting. When I moved here, I thought, oh my gosh, I know nothing. Everyone's going to be more successful than me. But I had a very strong work ethic, so that carried me through much further. But I also, with the food, I thought the food was going to be so much better. But interestingly enough, because I grew up eating farm fresh food and we weren't using that, the food was amazing on a different level.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same level of freshness, but it was a lot of intensity, stress. And as my mom said, I really wasn't ready for the job. I figured it out as I went along. And people ask me all the time, do you miss that? And I don't. And
Yeah.
even I lived in this space from the time I was about 18 to 26, where I went back and forth constantly. I started off in college, journalism and pre-law, and I worked on Capitol Hill for a congressman. I
Wow.
volunteered, and I volunteered for the governor that was running for this in Virginia. And I just saw a lot of manipulation and a lot of lying. And I said to my parents, I cannot imagine doing this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And my mom said, well, you better do what you love, because it might be the rest of your life. And I said, well, I love to bake. And my dad was like, absolutely not. You're going back to school. And my mother was like, no, you can do whatever you want. And that's what I did, because I didn't want to spend a life worrying about, did I have to, even if it's not lying, the constant manipulation of facts to get what you want. I could do it now because I have the skin for it. But then, and then I went to work in restaurants and hotels, but I was like, I'm not making an impact. Making an impact is pretty much my sole reason for living. And if I'm not making an impact, then I have no purpose.
Yeah.
And I would be lost without that. So I do get choked up about it, because I think about, what if I feel very lucky to be the person I am. But I'm like, what if I couldn't make an impact? I would literally have nothing. But this is where I went in the restaurant industry, back and forth constantly. I went to paralegal school. I was like, do I go back? Should I be a lawyer? What am I doing? And then thankfully fell into teaching because that is the best way for me to make an impact.
Yeah. Yeah. You actually do a big impact. Like,
Yes.
this is just, I like the way that you say things, and it's, it doesn't happen much for me. And now I don't want it to sound cheesy, but I like strong women's, because in this world, I've been lucky. I don't want to sound really bad in here, but I was born a man. So I was just already 10 steps more than a woman, for all the reasons of the world. But growing up, I went through racism, bullying, and more. And I really understood how a woman can impact your life in a really amazing way. In fact, all the mentors that I had until today, they're all women, because I tried, to follow some men's or coaches and more, but I am like, it's so easy for you, it's so easy. And instead, when you have people like you, Melanie, they're just like, bam, it's like you clear your mind, bam. I'm like, oh, wow, you are doing a huge impact in here.
But you're so right. I know I say this all the time and it always rubs people the wrong way. Women have to bust their ass more than men. They really do. We're not even in a place in society where they don't. And my mother was an engineer, and she was 10 years older than my dad. And my sisters, who are 4 of them from my mom's first marriage, said that when my mom started dating my dad, the community called my mother a whore.
Oh, gosh.
And my mom didn't care. I think, I'm sure you've seen sometimes I can write things to be just a slightly bit provocative. Yeah. Just to push a little buttons, get people thinking. And I think that's how I don't know, she never told me, but I really believe that's sort of how she perceived that. People are talking about her. That's her way of making an impact because she's getting them to think. And she was just a trailblazer and didn't even know it. And maybe she did know it and I didn't know it, but she definitely, a lot of this personality is my mom.
Wow, that is amazing. I found amazing. I'm listening to you and like, oh my God, okay, it's like amazing. So if you have to choose any kind of cultural food, like what is the best, the one that you prefer? Don't say Italian, please.
Wait, say that again.
Don't say Italian.
No. No, actually, I have a hard time answering that question because and this sounds like a cop-out, but I am the person who, when someone says, what's your favorite? It's sort of what's in the moment.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever heard that song by the Rolling Stones, Love the One You're With?
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about people and about things. Like whatever I'm doing is really what I love. And I really would have a hard time choosing. I mean, if I was really pushed, I might say I love like Turkish, Persian food. Those are probably my 2 favorites, but it's really hard for me to say about anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right now, you're my favorite person in the whole wide world.
Oh, darling. Oh, bless you.
Until I'm with Violet later, and then she's my favorite.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyway, I love Turkish food, because when I was living in London, I lived in London for almost 6 years, and the food was not great. You British, like if there is any British here listening, that your food is not great. You have beautiful things like in Scotland, you can eat actually better than the rest of UK, but the food is not best. And in there for five years, I was vegetarian because I couldn't eat meat in there because the meat was tasteless. I was like, no, it's not good. And then when I met my boyfriend, he was like, we should go to the Turkish. And I'd never been to a Turkish place in London. I just fell in love. And the meat was amazing. And the rice, the vegetables and thing was just like, wow. And we every time that, because in Italy we just have doner kebab, but but every time that we go somewhere else and we know that there is a Turkish restaurant, we definitely go in there because we love it.
Love it.
Yeah. I don't like and for instance, I don't like Italian foods, and here the people gonna kill me for that.
Yeah, they are. No one says that, especially those that live in Italy.
Yeah. I actually don't like. I don't find all the. I don't know. Like I love Spanish food and French food as well. Yeah, but Italian, I don't know. It's probably because I live in here, so I don't find anything interesting.
I bet
Probably
you
is that.
100% that's it. And also, I think that you have this characteristic, this trait. Everybody else loves it. So you
Yeah,
want to be a little bit more unique and different. I do that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You got a point. I never thought about. Like since I living here, it's like I'm literally trying to go against the system. Terribly. Oh God. I should stop doing that. I should embrace
Embrace
Bakaka.
it.
It's impossible. It's really impossible. I don't
That's
know.
hard.
It's a when I did, well, it was not a decision for me because I had to come back. I was almost obligated by my family to come back to Italy because my father passed away and my mother was like, you need to come back. I don't know to do anything. My brother was little, so I was not requesting him to do what um, I could do because we had 11 years age gap. And so I didn't choose to come here. I was obligated. And when I came back, I was like, no,
That's interesting.
impossible. Yeah.
And how many years have you been there now?
Since 2017. So it's 6, 7 years, 8 years? Yeah, 7
Almost
years.
8. No,
Almost
7.
8, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be 8.
7.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a long time.
Yeah. And I still don't embrace. I tried, but I don't embrace it all. And when you do like all the recipes, and because you have a book, isn't it? It's called oh gosh, I had in my mind, it's
Okay.
about the cheesecake.
Yeah, I have a couple. That's the last one, which was a while ago. It's called Making Artisan Cheesecake.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
And tell
go
me,
ahead.
tell me, tell me.
No, you go.
No, I'm just asking, like, the recipes and more that you put there is something that comes from you.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, so I used to go to companies and speak to them about creativity and how to bring creativity into the workforce. So for me, this is probably the best and worst part of my personality. When everyone is doing the same thing, I want nothing to do with it. And it's terrible. And right now, everyone's a cooking teacher. So it's actually a struggle for me because it's actually my career. And it's not most people's career. It's their, Instagram, their TikTok. And even my husband came to me the other day and was like, oh, this girl on TikTok said to do this way. And I said, yes, I know, but she's just trying to find another way to do something that's tried and true because she wants to get likes and follows. And she's got, 1.5 million followers. And, I said to Amir, if I wasn't 53 and I was 33, I'd be in that space. But I find that just people are constantly just doing the same thing, copying. And that's like a big pet peeve I have. So when I'm drawing inspiration, I always want to think about sort of what goes together, but I also always like to think about what people don't think goes together that does and how to help them use it. And I do a PD with teachers because I do teacher professional development involving mindfulness and cooking, where we cook something that people think is traditionally a dessert, like a cheesecake, but we make it for a main course. And then we do like a soup we do for a dessert. So it's like a topsy-turvy way of thinking because it gets you to start thinking about things a little bit differently. And that's what I like. And that's what I try to bring to my recipes. I'm doing a live on this Friday. It's on Leo. I'm doing these new lives, which I'm super excited about. It's about embracing the signs, nourishing your sign. And I'm going to do a salad that is going to be peaches and tomatoes. And then I'm going to do... Yeah, my husband had the same face, Jude. And then I'm going to do sun-dried tomatoes and Kalamata olives and chop them up and do almost like a dip and put it on the bottom and then put the salad on the top of it. and I might roast the veggies and the peaches. I haven't decided. And you like sort of, eat it, and you could put cheese on it. I'm not going to do cheese, but you could do like a
Yeah.
layer of feta or whipped feta or goat cheese. But I feel like, I like to sit. Like, this is also why I wouldn't be great on like a TV cooking competition, because I need to sit and think about food and what I want and how I want to bring it together. And
Yeah.
one of my favorite cheesecakes in the book is a saffron cheesecake, and it's
Yeah.
upside down pineapple, and it's got a pistachio crust. And that's because one of my favorite desserts I had it in an Indian restaurant. It was pistachio and saffron. So I was thinking, like, what can I do to bring it into what I love?
Yeah. Yeah, because because I cook in a really Brazilian way, where we just chuff everything in the pan and something good's gonna come out. And when I put, we have I don't know how it's called in English, but the potato salads with mayonnaise, and some people they put onions, and we call the Russian salad. It's
Yes.
called in that. Yeah, it's that.
Yes.
Perfect. In Brazil, we put apples as well. So
Yum.
in everything we put something sweet. So I think the first time that I actually cooked to my boyfriend, I did that, and he was like, "What is that? Why is sweetie?" And I'm like, "Well, it's the Russian salad." No, but it doesn't work in that way. I was like, "Yeah, well, I always put like apples in that, so I don't understand what's your problem. But and then I realized that actually it's a cultural thing, because also my mother, she puts pineapples everywhere and pears everywhere. She did this, and that was really gross, but I still had to say it was amazing. She did the marmalade with figs, yes, with figs and banana. And believe me,
Too
like the
sweet?
two fruits, it was not combined to be together. And I was like, Mom, why did you put the bananas? Oh, yeah, because it was that was, and I was like, okay, but.
Yeah. And that's interesting. So you were saying that in Brazilian culture, you always put something sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And is that
We
because you want
do.
to bring like sweetness into your life? Is that some
Oh,
cultural,
wow, I never thought about her. Yeah, probably yes.
probably historically, maybe it was,
Yeah,
and then the apples, I don't actually know much about Brazilian agriculture, but if you're growing a lot of apples
yeah,
there, it's a way to definitely use them.
yeah. I never thought about her. Wow, Melanie, like you're opening my mind. Like I would be like looking everywhere now, like, is my culture there? Like, okay, perfect. But now I understand, because we use also, and we use a lot in the cakes and more the condensed milk.
Yes.
We use hundreds of condensed milk in
Yes.
everything that we do. And it's probably because of that, like the sweet of life. Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking.
that is incredible. Like open up my
I
mind
mean,
in this way.
but in New York, there's a big Brazilian community.
Yeah.
Brazilians are very loving and warm. I actually think, controversial, Brazilians and Israelis have a lot in common. Those are two cultures
Mm-hmm.
that you are not going to meet a person who's not going to embrace you and love you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you meet someone who's
Oh.
Brazilian, it's like you've known them your whole life.
Yeah. It's like that. Yeah.
I
I am
think so.
relearning to do that. I totally forgot to do that. It's actually it's 29 years that I don't return in Brazil. And on the 30th year, that will be next year, finally, I'm going back to Brazil.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a long time, and I can't wait. I feel I lost my roots and everything, and I need to go back, and yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to lose your roots. That's who you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely. So what would be the best thing? Like, imagine someone, like a young person, in the fridge, they have almost nothing. They have eggs, because when you are young, you always have eggs in the fridge, and I don't know why. What would be the easiest, the mindful recipe that you would give to them, if you have any that pops in your mind at this moment?
I think when you're incorporating mindfulness into your cooking, it starts before you start cooking. So
Mm-hmm.
if you are, I don't wash my eggs, although I know people who do. but let's say you're going to make a frittata and you've got
Mhm.
some tomatoes and olives and herbs lying around. When you're washing, well, when you're in the grocery store, when you're choosing, or the market, wherever you go, and you're choosing your produce, that's like your first experience about having an opportunity to be mindful, because you can really focus on the colors. I always say people eat with their eyes. And this is before you're even eating. You want to buy beautiful produce to the best of your ability because it's probably going to taste good. So and then you're touching it, right? And then you bring it
Yeah.
home and you're washing it. And something I do a lot of, and I know you know this, is I really do think about all the people that touched my food to get it to me. Because a
Mhm.
lot of people had to be a part of this process to get it on your plate. Even
Yeah.
eggs. It's not just the chicken, it's the farmer taking care of the chicken, it's the truck driver driving the eggs, it's the grocery store worker, it's the PR company that's promoting that company of eggs. I tried to get numbers, real numbers, on how many people for a product, and it's really hard to get, but they definitely estimate that it's upwards of 100 people that it took
Wow.
to get you right. So I always, and because I love people, and I think I want people to lead from a place where they love people, because if you love people, then it's easy to be kind. But think about
Yeah.
those people, they're working hard, they're doing their best, nobody's against you, everybody's for you. And then you come home, you're washing everything, you're cracking your egg, you've got that sound, you're feeling it, you're whisking it up. It's like the sexiest television show, cooking TV show, but it's you. You're adding in your
Yeah.
salt, you're adding in your pepper, you heat a little bit of oil in your pan, you hear the pan sizzling, you look at the pan, right? People ask me all the time on lives, how do you know it's ready? And I'm like, because I'm paying attention to cues that are other things, right? Like listening, seeing, your oil becomes more viscous in your pan, you add in the eggs, they're like, all those things are opportunities just to be mindful. And I don't cook with music on, and I don't care if other people do, but it's because I'm trying to pay attention to what I'm doing. And I only listen to music when I need to be distracted in the kitchen,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I don't really usually want to be. And then, of course, finishing it. And some people, especially I've noticed, like I have a 15-year-old, he's just like shoving food in his
Yeah.
mouth. And I'm like, don't do that. Stop. Sit down, eat a bite, chew it. I feel like I never talk about mindful eating because I also don't want to bring shame into food at all,
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
And but just sitting and smelling your food, looking at your plate, looking at the people around you, thinking about, or am I alone, right? And when I'm alone, I eat the slowest, actually, and just savoring the food because it tastes so good that you don't want to just swallow it whole. You do want to chew it because it's just going to
Yeah.
taste even better. And allowing yourself those moments to just take in all those sights, sounds, tastes, aromas, touching. I mean, I eat with my food. I did a live where someone wrote, like, I said, oh, you just squeeze the tomato like this. And I inverted it and squeezed it. And they said, I was taught never to play with my food. And I actually, that was a newsletter
Mhm.
topic I wrote about, because
Mhm.
everyone in the live kept reinforcing, yeah, I was taught not to play with my food. But I was
Yeah.
said, like, you're touching your food. That's the most tactile, beautiful, sensual experience you can have, is by
Yeah.
tapping into that. And so even if you're just doing a scrambled egg, you can be extremely mindful. But if you're looking for a
Yeah.
recipe, you could do like a frittata where you're bringing in your produce, because it's definitely going to be a little bit healthier than just an egg.
Yeah. Well, you just made me dream, like, and what you were talking about, because my boyfriend, he chops things, and I'm always like, can you just leave everything that is going around, please, and eat slowly? And it's like,
Yes.
yeah, but I was, since I was a kid, I was like, yeah, but you're an adult now, so you should stop doing that. But it's like, yeah, but I do what I want. I understand, but it's and I do, I just that I can't touch food, but not because of the play. I don't like to feel the oily in my
Yeah.
hands.
Yeah.
And I think that this is just an OCD situation going on with me, but I literally can't. But all the rest, I totally do, because I had for a long time in my life problems with binge eating. And when I learned mindfulness and also eating mindfully, I stopped to binge eating, because just the plate, it fills me enough,
Yeah. That's
you
amazing.
know? Yeah,
Yeah. It's so true that that's the case. And just tapping into all of that. And I believe, because we do it somebody said to me recently, well, not everyone cooks every day. And I'm like, no, but
hmm
you eat every day.
yeah, do.
I'm not, of course, I want people to cook from scratch, but I understand that people order out. And if you are ordering out or going out, you still have to taste your food. You still have to look at it. You don't have to cook it to be mindful. Like my
Yeah,
son also, he ordered Chinese recently, and I said, like, take it out slowly, put it on a plate, enjoy the process, and also because, I said to him, I ate dinner with my grandparents and parents every single night of my life. So we had
yeah,
conversations around the dinner table. And that's what my dream is to get people around the dinner table having conversations. And a lot of people live alone, which I want to
yeah,
somehow, I would love to create a community that people have a communal way of eating together.
yeah. And that is the
Yes,
gathering, isn't
together.
it? Yeah,
Exactly.
that's the gather. I love that. I love that. So, last question, Melanie, is a question that I do to all my guests on the podcast. If you could go back to the little Melanie, you decide the age, okay? What would you say to her? What would be your message?
Jude, you're going to make me cry.
Oh, please don't.
Um,
Okay.
I think I would say, like, trust yourself. You know the path, and you just keep going, and don't listen to any hater, and just keep going because you got this.
Thank you so much for sharing this. Like, I think that she would be really proud of the woman that she becomes. Like, I am really proud of you. Like, when you speak, I'm like, wow. It's like, wow. Like,
Thank you,
we
Jude.
need, and we didn't have the opportunity ever to talk together. Like, definitely we did, like, on the live hello, but we never had the opportunity. And I am really amazed. Like, I knew that you are like a beautiful and a great soul, but having you there in speaking, I'm like, oh wow.
Thank
It's
you.
like, yeah,
I feel the
yeah.
same. I love you. You know
Oh,
that.
totally. So if people wants to reach you, wants to maybe participate, well, like if you live in the New York State or whatever it is, where they can find you.
My website is gatherculinary.com. That's the best place. And of course, on Instagram, Chef Melanie Underwood. And on Insight Timer, Melanie Underwood. I don't know if I have Chef Melanie Underwood on there or not. I can't remember, but I'm the only Melanie Underwood there is. I think
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one that does mindful cooking.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Anyway, I will put all the details on the description of the podcast, as I normally do. In this way, you, dear listeners, can go and reach Melanie. Melanie, thank you so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to join me in this episode. I really enjoyed it. And thank you for bringing, like, I think that in these 50 minutes or 1 hour that we talk, you actually, I'm like, you just blew out my mind. Like, I'm gonna check everything about my culture first of all, but also it was amazing to listen to such an empowered person.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you, Jude. This has been amazing. I love you.
Thank you. So, my dear listeners, I will talk with you, next week.